Hello, Worldwide Logistics. Tom Pritchard, Safety Director. Guys, the reason I'm here today is I'm trying to go over some information with you for safety meeting. I will be sending this information to you via email, but I wanted to make sure that all of you understood the information in this email that will be sent to you. So I'm just going to go over the information that is here in this pamphlet that I'll be sending you. Okay, the first thing that you're going to see when the email comes to you is the driver safety meeting attendance roster. It's just put in the date, the month, the day, and have your drivers to sign and print their name. And at the conclusion of your safety meeting, you'll sign this yourself, and then you will send it back to Tommy Pritchard at Tommy, Tommy, .Pritchard at shipitwwl.com. It's required that I have this documentation here for our insurance company when they come to do their TSAs. Also, folks, I've already sent out some information to you here over the past month or so, and I've only had one terminal, I believe it's one terminal, that actually sent anything back to me. So if you've got that laying on your desk and you haven't had an opportunity to get it back to me, please send that back just as soon as you possibly can. Okay, now we're also going to be introducing a new program, and this is called Safety with Jackson Big Rig. Now I know that puts a smile on your face, but I'm going to hold this up and hopefully you'll be able to see it on camera here. The Jackson Big Rig is going to be like a cartoon character. The cartoon character is something that other trucking companies, the United States military, and a lot of other entities use to get their message across to their personnel. Jackson Big Rig is going to be a thing that you'll see on a regular basis, and I will explain more as time goes by. The second document that you're going to see in this is our 4Truckers accident reporting procedures. Now I know many of you guys are doing a great job. You're doing the best job that you possibly can. I have sent this information out several times, but we still have drivers who are not completely following the accident reporting procedures. There are reasons that we ask you to have your drivers call me. I have to figure out if I'm dealing with a state reportable crash or the garden variety bump up. And oftentimes if your driver is talking to a terminal manager or dispatcher, that type of information gets lost. If it's a DOT reportable crash, it's mandated by law, drug and alcohol test, and we need to be sure that the guys are doing this. My contact information is listed on this document, and please be sure that each and every single driver that you have has this. I would also recommend that you put it in a high traffic area there at your terminal so that your drivers can easily access the information anytime that they need to. Alright, the next few things that we're going to be talking about, as you well know, we've been working very, very hard towards reducing our basic numbers. The basics are part of the safety management system, CSA if you will, and what I have discovered is that not only truck drivers, but terminal managers and dispatchers and other folks within our company don't truly understand the terminology of CSA and the SMS, and because of that, it's causing some people to not quite understand the gravity of the comprehensive safety analysis. Okay? So, for example, if I were to hold up this document, and I know you can't see it good here, but you will be able to see it when I send it to you, and told you that these are our CSA basic scores, I almost bet that most of you are going to scratch your head just a little bit and say, well, that's pretty nice. Next. What I've learned, guys, is that terminal managers, dispatchers, drivers, a lot of people do not speak the language that the DOT is speaking. And it's absolutely imperative that you learn that language. Also, I've also learned that a lot of people don't really quite grasp what CSA actually really did to us. There is another document that you're going to see in here, and it has the word paradigm on it. Guys, now, a paradigm basically is a box or a model that our company, that not just our company, but other businesses all over the United States have operated in, really from the 1940s all the way up through midnight of December 16th, 2010. But at midnight, December the 16th of 2010, there was a paradigm shift, an earthquake, if you will. And that paradigm shift changed everything. In other words, operating the way we always used to operate, we can't do that anymore. There's a pointing system that is known as the CSMS, which is the Company Safety Management System, and there's also a pointing system known as a DSMS. DSMS is a Driver Safety Management System, and they truly do assign points to companies and drivers. The information stays on the company for 2 years. It stays on your drivers for 3. An interesting thing, I dealt a little bit with this today, and basically getting people to understand this it's a little hard, but I'm going to give it a try, okay? When and if a driver is issued a warning, speeding ticket, or any type of warning under the CSA program, guys, if the DOT officer fills out a DOT inspection form, that information in fact goes on the company and the driver's record, even if it is a warning ticket. Now, the only difference between a warning ticket and a real ticket is the cop took a little mercy on the driver and didn't take any of his personal treasure at that particular moment. Or he didn't write him a citation and he has to go to the court and cough up $500 or $600. But that's the rub. See, a lot of people think that because it's a warning, well, it's just don't do that anymore. That's not true. It goes on the company's safety record and it goes on the driver's safety record as well. CSA 2010 truly is a paradigm shift. It means that business, as we used to do it, we can't do it that way anymore. If we do, we're quickly going to find ourselves in such a situation that we won't have a job. Okay? The documents that I'm going to be sending to you explain this to you clearly. There are other documents in this packet that I'll be sending to you, and it lays out the training objectives that we're hoping to take care of in this safety meeting. Okay, I'm just going to briefly go over this. It's going to be talking about a PSP, which is a pre-employment screening program. It's going to be talking about the FMCSR rules and regulations, 396, 393, 395. All of those, it's going to be breaking those down for you, and it will help you understand this information. Also, we want you to know that if you go, like with this video that you're watching now, if you go to www.uyoutube.com, watch, then you will be able to see videos that we have placed, Mickey Summerlin and myself have placed up on the YouTube program. This is another way that we are trying to reach out to you so that you can provide safety training, federally required safety training, to all of your drivers, and in fact to yourself and to your terminal managers, also to your dispatchers. Anyway, that information's here and you'll be able to go to it. The next thing we're going to be talking about in this packet is required understanding, critical to every truck driver. Guys, I've listed definitions on these documents. Literally definitions. Some of them are straight out of the dictionary. For example, the word remedial. It's meant to correct a deficiency. And the example they give here is a remedial course in reading. So when we tell one of our terminal managers that we have a driver that is required to come here to Morganton, North Carolina for remedial training, usually that means that that driver has multiple offenses on our SMS scores and his SMS score, and it is one of these things that we absolutely cannot tolerate, and the driver really can't stand it either, and I'll get into that a little bit more here. It goes on down through here, different things that often we think in the trucking industry that every person would understand and know what that means, but that's not necessarily the case. For example, OOS, that stands for out of service. It means non-compliant. It's a disqualification for operating for drivers and equipment, and that disqualification stays in effect until the equipment or the defect or the driver violation is qualified again. In other words, the defect's repaired or the driver has been off duty enough time that he has accumulated enough time to go back on duty. CSA. I've had a lot of people say, what's that? Well, that's the comprehensive safety analysis. Basics. A lot of guys scratch their head. What do you mean when you say basics? Well, those are categories. That's all that means, is categories. But the word basic is just an acronym, and that acronym means Behavioral Analysis and Safety Improvement Categories. Okay? SMS. Well, what is that? Some kind of new aspirin? No. SMS is not a new aspirin. SMS is the Safety Management System. Well, what about a DSMS? That sounds like you're calling somebody a bad name, but it's not. In all honesty, what that stands for is the Driver Safety Measurement System. There's also something called a CSMS, that is the Company Safety Management System. And here's one that a lot of people, a lot of educated, a lot of really knowledgeable people do not understand. The word stand alone. I know I've tried to get this out several times, and I'm not sure that I accomplished what I needed to do when I tried that. But stand alone means that it stands by itself, on its own, without assistance. And in the contents of CSA, stand alone means if you have a basic that is or a category that is a standalone, that basic, that standalone basic can in fact generate an intervention. An intervention is just a new way that the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, says DOT inspection. An intervention is a DOT inspection. A standalone, there are only two of them. One is unsafe driving. That's all moving violations or warnings for moving violations. The other is fatigue driving. That's your logbook, guys. It's all log violations. Those two basics are standalone. Please understand that a standalone basic is a powerful thing within the CSA contents. Within that paradigm, the unsafe and the fatigue driving are the two standalones, and they are extremely powerful. They can literally make the difference that our company remains in business or our company does not remain in business. And I am not overstating, not one moment. Okay? Threshold. Well, guys and gals, maybe some of you were carried across a threshold when you got married. Well, a threshold to me is an imaginary line or a certain point that you cross over. In the content of CSA, a threshold, a basic threshold, is when our specific numbers in that particular basic go across the threshold above the particular assigned number. then that is when it starts ringing bells and blowing whistles for the FMCSA that something is wrong with that company and that particular basic. Those 7 basics, again, basics means behavioral analysis, safety improvement categories. There are 7 of them. The first one is your unsafe driving. That's all moving violations. It is a standalone. Fatigue driving. That is also a standalone basic. That's the 2. Unsafe driving and fatigue driving are your 2 standalone basics. These basics by themselves, without assistance from any other basic, if they cross the threshold to a negative point, then an intervention can occur. Driver fitness, drugs and alcohol, vehicle maintenance, cargo related, and crash indicators are the rest of the basics. There are 7 total of them. Now, it's also important that you need to know this. For truckers, Worldwide Logistics in general, we are a property carrying commercial motor vehicle company, non-hazardous. For a property carrying commercial motor vehicle company, in the unsafe driving basic, the percentile or the threshold is 65%. Anything above that is a bad thing. Fatigue driving is also a standalone. The second one of the standalones, that's your logbooks, and the threshold is 65%. Anything above that is a very bad thing for our company. You need to drill this into your drivers, tattoo it to the back of their eyelids if you have to, but they need to understand this. Driver fitness, the threshold for driver fitness is 80%. And basically when you're talking about driver fitness, you're talking about the driver's medical card, long form physical, and their driver's license being non-expired. That's what you're talking about in that particular basic. Drugs and alcohol, that in fact it's never changed. It's exactly what it says it is. And believe it or not, the threshold under the CSA program is 80%. Anything above 80%, that's a really, really bad thing. Vehicle maintenance, the threshold is 80%. Cargo related. And guys, what they're talking, this is a brand new category. What they're talking about with cargo related is in fact cargo securement, load locks, straps, bracing, decking, all the things that different parts of the industry use. In our application, they're mainly talking about cargo straps and or load locks. The threshold for this particular category, this basic, cargo related, is 80%. Then the 7th and last one of the basics is your crash indicator. Now the threshold for the crash indicator is 65%. However, this is not a standalone basic. The threshold, however, is 65%. Because the crash indicator simply is indicating that the vehicle, a company vehicle, was involved in a state reportable crash. The crash indicator does not assign fault to the accident in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Then there's something else you need to know about under CSA. That's called a peer group. Now, a peer group, the definition for peer is one or equal status with another. And group is a number of individuals or objects collected, situated, or classified together. So if you put a peer group together, then we're in the contents of CSA. What they mean to our company is this. A property carrying commercial motor vehicle, non-hazardous, and in our case, a company from 0 to 500 trucks. Our company would not be placed in a peer group with a company, say, that was running 1,500, 2,000 trucks. So we are measured against other companies like size doing the like type work that we do. Okay, so that's our peer groups. And under CSA 2010, that's in fact what they're doing. Then there's something called PSP. Okay, the PSP is the Pre-Employment Screening Program. This is federally mandated by Congress. It is not part of CSA. However, it was mandated by Congress. It went into effect January 1, I believe it was, of 2011. And it is required by Congress that all companies run a pre-employment screening program on possible candidates that a company wants to hire to be truck drivers. Okay? Now, PSP report is ordered on all new hire truck drivers by our company. The report lists the driver's violations, including warning violations, for the past 3 years, regardless of where they've worked. So basically what that's telling us is that if that driver, regardless of what company he was working for, had a DOT inspection of any kind, and an officer filled out the DOT inspection report, that is then sent to the federal government. That is on that driver's record. The crash indicator or reportable crash information on the PSP stays on the driver's record for 5 years. And again, this is only state reportable crashes. A good way to remember what a state reportable crash is you got a tow truck, you got an ambulance, or you got a hearse. So tow or transport or a death. God forbid a death. But those are the things that end up being a state reportable crash. The pre-employment screening program is one of the things that I kind of hesitated about a little bit, but to be honest with you, I like it because it's showing us what that driver's done in the past. And all the safety training that I've had and other folks like me, our company presidents, vice presidents, their training, they know that past performance is indicative of future performance. So if you've got a guy that's been breaking the law a lot of violations, why in the world would you ever think that that guy, just because he's working for your company, would change his behavior? In other words, the cat don't change its spots very often. Now, all of this stuff that you're going to see in here, this is understanding that our managers and our drivers really do need to understand, because all these parts fit together, and then these parts make up CSA. Some of you may be aware of this, and some of you may not, but Vice President John Naughton and Vice President Roland Branham and Mickey Summerlin, and of course myself, have identified drivers with multiple violations. And we, over the last 2 months, have been bringing those drivers in and sitting down with them and going through a 7.5-hour class of intensive training. And I'm happy to report at this point, none of those people who have come here for that training that are still working with our company have had any more violations like these. None to my knowledge. So I say great for the driver and great for our company. Okay, now there's also going to be in this safety meeting a article that I got just this morning, and today is the 26th of September. Pardon me, August. 26th of August. And it's an article from Landline Magazine, and it's referring to changes coming to CSA. Believe it or not, as we are currently struggling to make sure that all of our people understand CSA 2010, there are still other changes that are coming down the line. But I can truly tell you this, guys. CSA was originally conceived to assign a point system to an individual driver, and the ultimate goal of that was this, It was that if a driver was a bad egg, you know, a guy that kept getting violation after violation after violation, that in fact it would disqualify him from driving. Read this article and then go to the last 2 paragraphs. There's only 2 pages of this article, but go to the last 2 paragraphs and read this, and you will understand very quickly why we have to make our drivers, or help our drivers, I should say, understand that operating under the old paradigm, business as usual, the way things were done for 60 years prior to CSA 2010, they cannot do that anymore. Because once you read this, you're going to understand a whole lot more. If you think it's tough now, you've not seen anything yet. That's in there. Then, I want to move on to this, and I'm almost done. Accident countermeasures. These are provided to us by Safety Management Services, which is a part of Cottingham and Butler. You're going to see in this a accident countermeasure for school buses. As we all know, school is starting back up. In many states it's already started. I know here in North Carolina today, actually yesterday, school went back into session. Our county schools went back in, and we have school buses everywhere. We want to be sure that we protect our country's future at all times, and that is our children. We have to protect them, guys, and I don't think there's anybody in our company who would even for the first second think about not doing that. But we want our guys, our drivers, to read this. We want them to fill out the information. There is an answer sheet on the back of it, so when you give these accident countermeasures to your drivers, take the answer sheet off. Okay? Get your driver to read it, have him sign it and date it and answer the questions. Then take the answer sheet and sit down with him and go over the thing to make sure that he in fact understood that information. And then send the documentation where he has signed and dated it back here to Morganton, North Carolina, to Tommy Pritchard at tommy.pritchard@ship@WWL.com. Okay? All right, the next thing is an accident countermeasure for rear end accidents. I'm sad to tell you, but I am aware of 3 rear end accidents that our company drivers have had over the past 2 or 3 months, and this is very concerning to me. Anytime a driver is so close to the vehicle in front of him that for whatever reason that our driver strikes the vehicle in front of him, I start getting cold chills running up and down my backbone, because I understand quickly that this is a situation that could be a company-altering situation. It's not a laughing matter, and I know you're not laughing. It's not a matter to be taken lightly. Anytime you have a driver that's involved in an accident and there's been a rear-end accident, that is something that we need to get, not only myself and the terminal manager, but also our Vice President, Roland Branham, and Vice President John Naughton, and perhaps a few other people involved too, to make a good decision as to whether or not we're going to keep this driver, or if we're going to retrain the driver. You know, if the guy's been a good guy and he's been doing a really fine job for us, you know, being compliant with his logs, taking care of the equipment, doing good with the customers, and this is a one-time event, you know, yeah, we'll look and see what we can do to fix it. But a rear-end accident is a big deal, and we need to make that very, very clear to all of our drivers. So you're going to see this. It says rear-end accident, and this is coming from Safety Management Services Company, a part of Cottingham and Butler. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about under this category is backing. The number one accident that our company and just about any other company has is backing. Now it goes back to old Jackson Big Rig that I introduced to you there in the beginning. The old safety program, GOAL, G-O-A-L, an acronym just meaning get out and look. Hammer it into your drivers' heads that before they back their rig anywhere, that they get out of the truck and go look. Make sure that the path that they intend to follow when they're backing in is clear of people, of other vehicles, or anything else that they might possibly come in contact with. Also share this with them. Tell them that if you have doubts, stop the truck as many times as you have to. If you need to, tell your driver to ask someone to work as a ground guide for you. Okay? This is a thing that we can stop. The backing accidents can get very costly. They're usually not super costly, but when you start having them frequently, the numbers add up quickly, and it's just unacceptable. A driver can prevent this stuff. You just have to take the time to stop, to get out of the truck and go look. There's no excuse not to, so please have our drivers do that. Hammer it into their heads, please. Well, guys, that's the safety meeting in general that I'm sending to you. I would appreciate your feedback on this video to see if this helps you a little bit. If it does, I'll do this with every single one of our safety meetings that we do. And remember this, that you are extremely important. Just as every driver we have is extremely important. And the way I look at it, we have a sacred bond with each other. And that sacred bond just means that we're going to do the very best job that we possibly can. We'll do that job as safely as we possibly can. And we'll make our livings, and we will not hurt anyone while we're doing it. Well, thanks a lot. I'm Tommy Pritchard, Director of Safety for Truckers Incorporated, Worldwide Logistics, and this safety meeting will be coming to you very, very quickly now. God bless you. Take care. Knock a home run in your safety meeting, and I hope you like it. We'll see you now. Bye.